we can speak now to the Security Minister, Damian Hinds. Mr Hinds, very good morning.
Good morning, Neil.
We have just heard that took place the night before the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral. I'm wondering, would you, on behalf of the government, wish to apologise to the Queen this morning?
Neil, I mean, like everybody, I think, who's read this story this morning, like you as well, I was shocked. I was shocked to read it. I have only just read it. It's just out in this morning's papers, and we will have to see what comes out further in the investigation. This is a particularly sombre time, of course, for our whole country. The whole nation shared with Her Majesty in her mourning, and as was just been said in your piece there, I think one of the, I mean, everybody was so struck by that picture, the ultimate and exceptional dignity of Her Majesty at Prince Philip's funeral. We will have to see what comes out in the investigations. This will be part of the investigations taken on by Sue Gray, and we must wait to see what comes through in that.
Sure, but I mean, it clearly wasn't a sombre atmosphere inside Downing Street the night before. Again, I'll reiterate, the Prince Philip's funeral. There was a suitcase full of booze, there was music, there was dancing. Downing Street has not denied any of these details. Can you and I both just accept the fact that on the face of it, what took place that night was a party and it shouldn't have happened?
So, as I say, I mean, I'm shocked to read these allegations, and as you rightly say, particularly at that time. But it is a story that's just come out in the press this morning. I honestly don't know more about it. Clearly, I wasn't there, and I don't know. At first hand or otherwise. On the basis that Downing Street has
on the basis that Downing Street has not challenged any of the detail, on the basis that they have not challenged the detail of it, on that basis, this was a party, it shouldn't have happened.
So, look, I totally accept that if the details that are in this story turn out to be true, then that would be, I mean, clearly, people are going to form their judgment, but it will be part of these broader investigations being undertaken by Sue Gray. The terms of reference have been clear that those investigations should cover events, plural, alleged events, the nature of them, who attended them, what the purpose of them was, and I think we do need to see what comes through in that report. The Prime Minister has also been clear. The terms of reference are clear that if allegations are found to be true, if individuals appear to have been guilty of wrongdoing, then action can indeed be taken.
The line from number 10 is that the Prime Minister wasn't there. I'm just wondering in what world it matters whether or not the Prime Minister attended the events the night before the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral. We know that when he has attended those events in the past, in what we have been told repeatedly is his house, his back garden, he didn't bring it to a halt. So, given the fact that we know some incredibly senior figures in Downing Street were at this particular party, you're certainly not suggesting that there would have been an event like that if any one of them had any doubt in their mind about whether or not the Prime Minister would have approved.
So, Neil, I'm not suggesting anything. I mean, because, look, as I said, I don't know the detail of those alleged events, or indeed more broadly, and that's why we have the investigation going on into the series of different allegations and different happenings. And I do think it's important that this story has just come out. It's just come out this morning. I think we do need to wait to see what goes on, what comes out of that report. The Prime Minister made his apology on Wednesday. I think a sincere and heartfelt apology in the context, of course, of the knowledge that all of us have of the very severe privations that the whole country has had as a result of the coronavirus restrictions. In some cases, people being unable to mourn their loved ones or to be with them at the last. So these are incredibly important matters, and I do think it's right that the time is given for those investigations to run their proper course, and then if action needs to be taken against individuals, it can be.
Minister, I'll say something this morning that I rarely do with politicians. I've got a degree of sympathy for you. You've been the government minister that has been sent out this morning, having received an absolute hospital pass, yet again, from staff working inside number 10. I mean, Andrew, but the problem is that all of this raises questions about the Prime Minister's suitability to be Prime Minister. Andrew Bridgen, the Prime Minister's position has become untenable. Leadership is not just about the job title or even making big decisions. It is equally about having a moral compass of knowing not just right from left, but right from wrong. I mean, few, including Mr Bridgen, would have expected him to be the moral compass at the heart of the government at the moment, but he's got a point.
Well, I think leadership is incredibly important, and I am entirely behind the Prime Minister and the government, and I think the leadership that the Prime Minister has shown, particularly through the coronavirus, has been very strong. We've had the strongest vaccination programme in Europe, most tested nation.
We know all of this. We know all of this, but we are talking about a party at which a suitcase full of booze was brought in, a party at which, drunkenly or otherwise, the Prime Minister's son's swing was broken by one of those attending, dancing, drinking. It was a party. And all of this the night before the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral, the night before, when the Queen herself will have been busy preparing for one of the most solemn, sad days of her life, she sat alone in the chapel. I mean, these are all significant questions about the Prime Minister's competence, surely.
Well, as you say, this was a particularly sombre moment, and all that you say about the response, the reaction that people will have to hearing this story, I totally understand. I myself am shocked to read these allegations this morning, but I'm just not in a position to be able to comment further on them. It's not that I'm keeping something from you, Neil. I mean, I don't know because I wasn't there, and it is important that we don't just operate off a news story. That's not to diminish the importance of media, which is incredibly important, but we don't work just off
one news story,
media stories in the press.
It is a litany of news stories now.
Yes, there have been many news stories, and I think that further highlights why it's important that we're able, in a deliberative democracy, to have a senior civil servant, somebody with a great integrity and respect across the political spectrum, look at all of these things in the round, and to make an assessment in the round. Those findings then obviously will become public. And then there'll be an opportunity in Parliament. The PM's already said he will then come and make a statement. That means then, followed by questions and scrutiny from members of Parliament, and then, of course, scrutiny from you and your colleagues in the media. And I think it is important that that process can run its course.
Well, we await the findings of the investigation into the Prime Minister by someone appointed by the Prime Minister with great interest. I do, however, want to dwell just for a second on your brief and the revelations yesterday that a very significant figure within the Labour Party has come perilously close to what it appears is a member of the Chinese intelligence apparatus. Are there any concerns in your mind about the probity of Barry Gardiner?
No, I mean, Neil, this isn't a story about one British politician or even one political party. This is a story, an incident, an item about how other states can seek to influence our country in different ways. One of which is political interference, and one of the ways of doing that is through provision of finance. And of course that's a concern. But, I mean, what came out yesterday, I mean, this is an example of our system working. This is our world-leading intelligence and security services discovering this and finding a way to disrupt it. So, as I say, it's an example of the system at work.
I suppose the Prime Minister, of course, under a huge amount of pressure this morning, he can at least console himself with the fact that he is not Prince Andrew. What do you make of the decision taken by Buckingham Palace to strip him of his military roles and indeed of his HRH title?
Well, these are matters for the Crown, matters for the Palace, and I know, obviously, matters in which they will consider exceptionally carefully. And I don't think it's right for me to comment.
Damian Hinds, great to have you on the programme this morning. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you.